Okay, so the record is starting perfect. And yeah, I guess yeah, we can start in just a few seconds. So Sam, you'll be sharing first, since like you'll do the introduction, and then I will handle the rest of it. So yeah, I guess it's the time, 6 p.m. We can start. So hello everyone, welcome to this Strapi workshop. I'm hosting it with Sam Torres from the Great Company. We'll be talking about SEO. So she will be doing an introduction about SEO. And then we'll be talking about like some SEO best practices I can share for you today. And we'll see in more details how we can like leverage the Strapi plugin we developed at Strapi to really create like SEO-friendly content with Strapi. So I think that's it, pretty much it. The mic is yours, Sam. Feel free to share, and yeah, we'll start right away.
Perfect. And in true technical always gets fun, the host has disabled screen sharing.
Oh, really?
Yes.
That is not okay.
Well, this is good. This gives people a few more minutes to come in. If they're a little late, it'll be all good.
So, okay, now you should be good because, yeah, you should be good, I guess.
Okay.
Finger crossed. Perfect.
All right, everybody seeing that? Let me make sure I can get to it now.
It's loading for me. Yeah, it's confirming in the chat that, but it's still loading for me.
Okay. Here we go. All right, yeah. So thanks everybody for joining. Yes, we're going to talk about SEO and Strapi, all two things near and dear to my heart. All right, so let's get started. So Maxime already talked about that. We're going to be going through what is SEO, best practices. I won't steal his thunder. So talking about what is SEO, I'm assuming you know a little bit about it already. So SEO is, of course, search engine optimization. And myself, I run a SEO strategy consultancy. So this is what I live and breathe every day. Absolutely love it. And why I love it is because SEO is extremely powerful. So one of the things that's really great about it, as a marketing channel, it is one of the channels with the highest ROI. And really, when you start to get into it, it starts to be obvious because a #1 position on Google, you're guaranteed anywhere between 25 to 35% of the traffic. Now, the differences between those would be branded versus unbranded. But overall, it's just really powerful because if you think about, there are 1,000 people searching for something, you can reasonably depend on 250 of those people coming and engaging with your brand. So it's just a really powerful thing. And as we make more strides in SEO, as Google and other search engines become smarter, it's almost like we're better able to understand our users and exactly what they're going after. So again, just one of the things to know is that at its core, SEO is all about connecting searchers to the answers or the solutions that they're looking for. And as brands, our job is to go ahead and give them those answers. But of course, it's not always quite that easy. So in SEO, we have 3 different areas that we really break it down into: technical, content, and off-page. Now, since we're talking about Strapi, we're going to be talking mainly about technical. So just what are the things that we can do when it comes to the code on our site to make sure that Google and other search engines can really understand exactly what it is we're talking about, why we have the authority to talk about it, and make sure that they can then translate that into answers for their users. So within technical, and what I really like to say here is that what we say is really important, but how we say it can be just as important, and that's where the technical comes in. So just think about any regular communication. I'm fine is very different from I'm fine, right? We all know that there's inherent differences there when your partner says that, like they're not fine. So it's kind of the same with how we code our content. So within technical SEO, what we generally look at is our on-page elements, which is really what we're going to be focusing on today with the work that Maxime and Strapi have done. And then on the global side, those are things that really affect your entire site as a whole. We may be able to talk a little bit about those today, but like I said, for the most part, we're going to focus on those on-page elements. So that's where you take a single page, a single URL, and look at what are the things that we can do to really convey better meaning and make sure Google and other search engines can understand what we're talking about. So with that, that's the intro to SEO, and Maxime, all for you.
Thanks, Sam. So, okay, I'm going to start to share my screen. Hopefully the good one. Desktop too, perfect. All right, so can you confirm that you see my screen? I don't have the chat anymore somehow.
We're good, we see it.
Okay, perfect. I just want to display the chat just below. Okay, perfect. All right, so this is a topic I already mentioned in the previous StrapiConf. So it represents the SEO, the Strapi SEO best practices. To begin with, I would like to be sure that you all understand what Strapi is about. So basically, this is a headless CMS, and it means a lot of things, but especially it means flexibility. This flexibility means that you can use basically Strapi with any kind of technology you want. Here we'll be most interested about front-end technology to create the front end of your website powered by Strapi. But just a reminder that you can use any technology that can do HTTP request. If you want to use Strapi as an external API for your MVC framework, for example, Rails, Laravel, Symfony, this is something you can absolutely do. But here, the context is about front-end framework. So if you want to use for example, Strapi with Gatsby, Vue.js, Gridson, Next.js, this is something you can absolutely do. The thing is this flexibility has some kind of what I will call a cost. Headless CMS is definitely different from a monolithic architecture. The whole CMS in the monolithic architecture is based in you have the CMS and the backend and the front end inside of it. The thing is if we take WordPress for example, you will have some plugins about SEO. You will have you can easily update SEO of your website directly inside of your CMS, and you will have a direct impact of it because everything is contained in one block, which is the CMS. So this is cool, but the thing is you can only have one front end, and this is something they impose to you. You can't really decide if to have a Gatsby front end or Next. This is something that is determined. However, when handling SEO, it is faster and you don't have any questions about it because it seems pretty natural, etc. Using a headless CMS, you only have the backend, which is delivered through an API, which is REST or GraphQL. We support both at Strapi, but then it is pretty detached. Your front end is completely detached from Strapi. It is communicating through an API, but the thing is this flexibility has a cost, which is people are getting hard time understanding, okay, how can I handle SEO? Because if I go to WordPress to another monolithic CMS, I can easily have a plugin that will automatically do that. I will just click and it will automatically refresh the front end with your new SEO information, etc. If you want to have a canonical URL to change the meta title, you can directly do that in your monolithic architecture CMS, but not in an headless CMS. It is more complicated in a way that you create the data in Strapi. Okay, so let's say that for example you will have some products and you want this product to have SEO tags, so the meta titles, the robots tag, etc., etc. You will also need to for your front end to correctly have the logic to receive this data and then to display it in your front end for your search engines to really understand what your content is about. So by being dispatched, it is more confusing for people, I guess, for beginners, because we do have a lot of beginners in Strapi that sometimes ask about, hey, I have a Strapi project. So they are talking only about the Strapi server, not the front end, just the Strapi server. And they ask me, how can I make it SEO friendly? How can I rank this project on Google search? And I was like, this is not something you want to do. This is something really different. And I want to be sure in this workshop that everyone understand understand this. I see in the chat that, can you share the slides? Do you see the slides, right? Oh, you mean after that? Yes, after that I will be able to share the slides. Don't worry. I was scared. I was talking without any screen. So yeah, I will share the slide just after. Don't worry. But yeah, so I was saying that I really want in this workshop that you all understand that, yeah, what is it about handling SEO with Strapi? So you don't want to rank your Strapi server on Google. This is not something you want. The front end, yes, you want. But this front end will need like the data from Strapi. So the question is, with Headless CMS, how we can really handle SEO? Well, the thing is, like, let's take an example. For example, you have a Strapi, so your Headless CMS, and you want to create products. So each of your products will have like a page on your front end. This is the logic you want to have. The thing is, like, you can work on the SEO in two ways. For example, the one I did with the plugin that we are going to see just after is the first method is like starting to create the architecture of your content to correctly like have place for SEO data. For example, your product will have a name, a price. This is all the information you are going to show to your users. But what about the information you need to show for the search engines? This is sometimes the things you forget to do, because at Strapi, it means flexibility. But by giving you flexibility, we don't give you something by default. You have anything else. You have nothing, sorry. You need, for example, when you want to create your first content type, you need to create all the fields that will be inside of it. And if you don't create the SEO fields that will be necessary for the search engines, then it will not rank, and it will basically not rank on search engines. So this is something you have to think about during the data architecture creation. So okay, the product will have a price, a name, images, a size, colors, etc. But you need to think about the SEO information. There is a lot of little practice you can do. These are like little quick wins that you can basically do when creating content. It is not about creating a whole SEO component. Something I already talked about during the last Strapi Conf. But basically using some fields to make your content SEO friendly. At the very beginning, when the UDID fields were not present in Strapi, basically a lot of people were asking, hey, how can I have like pages with the URL slash product slash the slug instead of the ID? Because having the ID is not really SEO friendly. Search engines don't really like it. They would love to understand your content directly from your URL, and having a slug is very good for that. So for example, in Strapi, we have the UDID field. This is a field that automatically create a slug from another field. So here on the slide, you can see that it has been generated from the title. So I can show you, I guess, yeah, in Strapi. If you see Strapi right now, by the way, with the beautiful dark mode. So if I go in the content manager and I go to a random article, this is where I took the screenshot basically. And so if I write hello here, I will be able, by clicking here, it's not automatically generating the slug because there is something inside of it already, but you just need to click on that and it will automatically generate like the slug for you. And at the end, the logic will be like, okay, for example, here, this project has a Next.js frontend. The logic will be, okay, I'm fetching this article, the data of it, and I'm generating all the pages for these articles using the slug. So all the URLs will be simply the slug that are generated with the UDID field. So this is one good practice to have. It was not very well used at the beginning. Now most people are using it, so it's kind of great. It's just a little reminder. After that, you can also use like relations. And before, we just have a question: does the slug come with the SEO plugin in the Strapi market? No, it doesn't, because this is not something you want to force to have. And for me, this is something that is clearly external from the SEO component. For me, everything that is inside the SEO component is like every information that's, yeah, I mean, I was going to say something that is not really true, but in the SEO component, it is something that is hidden from the user, but interesting for the search engines. The tags, the meta tags, the keywords, the canonical URL, all this kind of information hidden. But the slug is something you really see. And yeah, I think that it was better to exclude it from the SEO component, because And also it's better to not have it in a component. So if you have it in a component, you have to expand it. So here I don't have the SEO component yet because I want to show you how to install it, but it will basically like be hidden, something like this. But yeah, I prefer to have it like next to the title outside of SEO component. It's just a choice, but maybe it is better. Maybe all the people will think it's better to include it in SEO component, and maybe I will include it in the SEO plugin. But yeah, for now it's just outside of the component.
If I may, even with SEO, I would suggest keeping that separate from an SEO component, just because of how much the URL or route creation can play into the front end, whatever your chosen front end is. So I would definitely recommend keeping them separate, because there's just a lot more implications outside of SEO that route plays.
Thanks, Sam. Thanks. Yeah, definitely. So after that, we have like relations. So for instance, for example, in Strapi, you can like use relations to say, for example, like, sorry for the screenshot because it is about articles and we started about products, but it's basically the same. You can say, for example, that an article is related to a category, so it belongs to a category, etc., etc. So in the API, after that, we will be able to retrieve this information, etc. But you can also use like relations for display purposes. For example, I mean, it's always for display purposes, but here, what I'm doing is like, I have a block, which is basically a component inside the dynamic zone. And don't mind about the header block, component. It's not imported here, but after that, what is important is the relations. So I created articles relation, and by the way, we can look at it inside of Strapi. It is here, so related article, it is already expanded. And there is a relation saying that I'm just able to add some other articles. So here I'm just putting every articles, even the one I'm on right now. But what it will allows me is to create basically content clustering. It is good like for SEO, but mostly for the users, because your users, first of all, the search engines will be able to see like the related contents, but for the users too, because they will, you will keep them on the website, so they will scroll down and they will see like these kind of sections. Okay, this article is pretty similar, etc., etc. So this is just again, just a little thing to think about when you create like the architecture, the structure of your content. And then for the last one, there is a lot more, but for now I'm just presenting like the most obvious one, I will say, using the JSON fields. For what? For the structured data. So the structured data, what is it exactly? So I have one example to show you because we did that for Strapi, but basically, if you write, I don't know, apple pie recipe on Google, you will have like these beautiful cards. Okay, so this is structured data. You can like give Google in your pages like some kind of a JSON to make him understand that, okay, you can display this content in this way. So there is a lot of structured data formats, I will say. There is some like for recipes, for articles, for FAQ. We do have this one for the FAQ. If we type Strapi FAQ, it will like give us some answers directly under the link. So this is the one generated by the structured data we implemented, and this is the one generated by Google. We did not have to do anything for this one, but we did something for this one. We have like a structured data. It is only displaying 2 answers, which is kind of disappointing because we have way more questions. But yeah, that's basically structured data. And since it is like JSON, this is something you can basically use in your content. You have like a JSON field. You just fill all of this. So for example, the FAQ, as you can see, and then on the front end side, what you will just need to do is like, okay, we have a structured data value in this product. If it exists, if it is filled with something, then we just add the script tag with the structured data. And I see there is some question, but you are so answered, Sam. Thank you. So yeah, this is about structured data. I forgot because I wanted to add something else. Here, this is like the easiest way to have structured data, but something you can think about. What Strapi offers with the flexibility is that you can automatically generate this structured data, for example, using life cycles. So when you will be saving your content, a life cycles functions can run, and you can do, okay, for example, here it is only about questions and answer. So what I can do is like, I go in the content manager, and in the life cycle, I said, okay, the content has been saved. What I can do is like, I loop through all my questions. So here, this one, and I automatically fill the structure data field, which is not here yet because I don't have the SEO component, but you can automatically fill it with lifecycle functions. So the thing is, like, we saw like some little best practices, which is only using fields, existing fields in Strapi. But I think that the point is really to, okay, we push products, we push all the data for the product, the simple data, but we need also to push the SEO information. We need to not forget about the information that the search engines will need to perform in SEO. So the thing is like creating more of a complete SEO component. Why I'm talking about a component, because it's something in Strapi that you can basically reuse. This is like the purpose of components. For example, you have these CTA components that you can basically reuse in every content type, in your collection types, in your single types. And having like SEO component with all the necessary fields will be like a very good practice to have. And this is something the SEO plugin is bringing to you. So I'm just checking before diving into that if we have any questions. The Slug with Slugify don't has the button refresh. It is new. I'm not using like the Slugify. Are you talking about the Slugify package? Because I'm not using it, to be honest. So I would not be able to answer your question, Glenn. But I mean, feel free to use the UDID field. It is very good for that. But yeah, okay. If there is no more question, I think we'll dive. What about ideation and contents? What do you mean? What about it? The demo I showed you is like fully translated. So what is it about internationalization is mostly on the front end, to be honest. So here I have like the language in English, the content in English, but I also have it in French. So nothing changes. Everything will happen in the front end, I think. So for this project, what it will do is like in the URL, you will have a lang parameters. So you have two ways of doing it in your front end. You either have like /en/ then the product, or you either have like the /product and then a lang is equal to en, something like this. For this project, this is what we have, and then it will allows basically the search engines to understand that this content is in English, in French. This is something that is being done in the front end, basically. Thanks. Yeah, the new design dark mode is so fine. Thank you. Thanks for the product team. I mean, they're working hard on it. It's very beautiful. How can you get FAQ structured data at scale with unique values for different pages? I'm not sure to understand this one.
So, Stephen, are you asking how to implement structured data at scale without having to, well, I'm guessing that what you're asking is how to create structured data at scale without having to actually customize and like paste the structured data as we just saw in the example. That would be something that you would build requirements on the front end. So for example, I'm building a website in Strapi actually right now. And so one of the things I'm doing, we have an FAQ module or widget for creating the content. And on the front end, what I'm doing is it's automatically generating that JSON to then be like all accumulated and aggregated into the single script using a structured data component. So again, that would just be something that you need to build on the requirement side for the front end. What we see here with the Strapi SEO plugin is really great for anytime you need custom structured data. So I think the best of all worlds, and the solution we usually recommend to clients is we will have those templated versions of structured data that we want. We write those requirements, they get put into the front end. So think, for example, blog articles, right? You always want to capture the article schema with author, title, description, all that good stuff. what we want here is basically anytime we want to add customized, this would give us an opportunity to layer that on top. So I would say this is really the opportunity there is think about the scaling that needs to all be done on the front end. But then with this plugin, it also allows you a place to enter that custom data so that your front end can pull that in lieu of the templated data. And hopefully that makes sense.
Thanks, Sam, for answering. I also answered like some questions in the chat. Joe, never use hreflang, so I can answer that, to be honest. Custom plugins, so this need. Yeah, definitely. We are already thinking about it, to be honest. I will be like regularly like developing plugins around SEO, around the marketing side. So perhaps this is a subject that we'll handle in the future. But yeah, definitely will be cool to have it
yeah.
in the future.
I think honestly, for a lot of these questions, it really just comes to how are you doing it on the front end. So to answer like scaling hreflang, the way that we've recommended that in the past is basically by setting up these relationships, which actually Strapi makes really easy with the different locales. So it just goes ahead and loads what are the locales associated with this piece of content or this unique URL, and automatically generates all of the possible locale URLs for the hreflang tags. Because also about hreflang, what you want is you always want every iteration or every version of that URL to exist in the head of every version. Hopefully that makes sense. But basically, if I have an English, French, and Spanish version, on the English, I'm going to have all three listed and the same on the other two. So that's going to be pretty consistent throughout. For analytics and tag manager integration, I would question what are you wanting to add within the Strapi backend? Because really what we want to track is user engagement on the website, which is going to be generated by the front end. So, certainly if you're wanting to send special events depending on certain clicks or interactions, there's definitely ways to do that within, actually you would still do that just with the front end, or you could potentially create custom fields within Strapi to like trigger some events. But at the end of the day, you'd still have to write your front end to actually do something with the information in that field.
Yeah, Adil, for your question, is the SEO plugin only available on Strapi v4 because plugin has different structure in v3? Obviously, yes. I mean, unfortunately for v3 users. However, we published the v3 to v4 migration guides on Strapi. Hopefully, I will find it just by typing this. But it's like in the documentation, migration guides. Not sure to find the right links. But yeah, I mean, we published, that's here. We published the v3 to v4 migration guide, so it should be way easier for you to migrate. But yeah, unfortunately, it will be only available for v4. Mm-hmm. Okay, yep. If you want to have something, Sam, maybe, but...
just the fun with American English, which as an American, I will say poor English versus proper English. So just a word of advice when it comes to hreflang and localization, internationalization. Having hreflang does not solve for the problem of duplicate content. So you will very much want to think about if you're doing differences, and really the only difference between your UK or US offering is spelling. I might actually advise against doing that. You definitely want to make sure that your content is actually unique enough and you're speaking to those audiences differently, or really capturing exactly what it is their differences and needs are. If they are the same, I would not recommend taking the time to create a different version. And hopefully that makes sense.
Any idea when the scripts are coming for v4 migration? We are working, if I'm not mistaken, with some partners for the scripts. So I don't have any date for you, but probably like beginning of April, if I'm not mistaken. This is what has been said yesterday. All right. Okay, so let's talk about the SEO plugin then. So before I start, I just want to let you know that I started to develop this plugin, to reassure first some people that you can basically do some SEO stuff with Strapi. So as I said, earlier, it is more complicated, more confusing to do some SEO with the Headless CMS. So having this plugin is some kind of something that can reassure you that yes, you can do some SEO. And also okay, with this flexibility of Strapi, we don't give anything by default, but what if we give some default SEO components for the community, and also next to that some checks, some SEO checks, to really have some behavior. So what you are going to see is the V1 of the plugin, which has been developed under 1 month only. So I wanted to deliver this fast, but of course a V2 will come. Sam already gave me some good ideas for the V2 of this plugin. So yeah, this is just something to start with. So let's get to it. And yeah, one other thing is another company we are talking to, X-Fabricas, are also developing an SEO plugin, which is amazing because for me, there is two ways of doing this. You either do the thing I did. So we give you the components. We make sure that you create these components up front, and then you deliver to the backend, and then it's up to you. I mean, it's 50% of the job. And then, yeah, that's pretty much it. But the plugin they are doing is the opposite. It's the strict opposite. They analyze your front end, and then they do the mapping of the tags. So for example, they will see the meta title in the front end, and they will do the maps. They will see the corresponding value, which is inside of Strapi project. They will see, okay, this is the meta title you are using in your front end. So they map automatically, and then they give you the advice, okay, this is too long. This is not using enough keywords, etc. So, I mean, the day this plugin will be out, you will be able to use both of them, and then you will be very good in terms of SEO Strapi. So I don't know what they are planning to deliver it, to publish it on the marketplace. But yeah, if you don't know about it, oops, what I'm doing. Okay, I misclicked. On markets.strapi.io, you can find all the plugins we do have at Strapi. You also have the in-app marketplace if you are on the correct versions. But yeah, it will probably appear in the following weeks, month, I don't know. All right, so let's dive into it. So how does the Strapi SEO plugin work? So first, as I said, you will have the menu links here that will appear. And when you will click on it, it will just check in your content type builder if you already have a shared, a shared SEO, so an SEO component that is contained inside the shared components. So for the V1 of this plugin, there is no mapping. There is no mapping. We force the users to use this category, which is shared, because I mean, it's good name. It's a good naming, because for me, every components that are in these folders are components that you can basically use in all your content types, so collection types, single types, etc. For example, here I have some components that are only being used for the restaurant scope, I will say, some just for the pricing page, etc. But these are the components I can basically use everywhere. So it will check if an SEO component is already inside, and as you can see, it is not the case here. And it will just create it, and it will also create another component that is being used by this component, and you will see that later how it is. So just click on it, and it doesn't exist. So it is creating the component, and it is restarting your server. Then you will land on this page. So this is the same page of the plugin, and you have just one information that you need to read because this is pretty important. So the shared component has been imported. And if you want to use it on your content types, you will need to import them. So import the component in your content type in the root of the content type. So first, I'm going to show you that it is here. So shared SEO. So as you can see, it is here, and it contains also the meta social component, which is for information you want to have for Twitter, Facebook posts that you will be sharing. So if you go back on SEO, you can see that you can, for example, add the components for your article. So let's do that. It will just push you to the content type builder, because just adding the components outside of the content type builder is not a good practice. So we are just redirecting you to the content type builder. And what you'll need to do is to create an existing component All right, you select, and then you call it SEO, and then you select the one that has been imported, the shared, and you just want it to be a single component. Then you press finish, and you're good. You go back to the SEO page, and you can see that the SEO component has been added for this article. All right, perfect. So next, what I'm going to do is to cheat a little bit because I want some data to be filled in the SEO components. So this is some kind of dark magic, but I'll just do a yarn seed. So if you know Food Advisor, the project, the official demo of Strapi, this is just a command to fill some data automatically in the project. So I will just go back. You didn't see anything. All right, if I go back to the content manager and I close this one, I refresh, should be good. Oh yeah, I need to create another handle. Right, content manager. And one thing I will do, dark mode is cool, but unfortunately, the colors I'm using in my plugin is not very well compatible. I mean, I will just leave the dark mode, you will see what I'm talking about, but we don't see the colors that well. So it might be not good for you looking at it. So I will just have to go in any article. And if I go in this article, I can see that here on the right, I will have like a whole SEO plugin card. And as you can see, like the colors, you can't see them quite really well, but it's green, orange, and red. So there's a lot of things. First of all, your SEO component that is pre-filled with some data. For this demo, it's easier for me to show you with some data, but we can go through all the fields. So we have the meta title, description, meta image, the meta social. So what is the meta socials? Basically, let's say that, for example, you want to share this article on Twitter. If you do your front end correctly, you will have like in the post, this title, this description, and this image. Maybe you want something different for your Twitter audience or for your Facebook audience. So for example, here you can select the one you want, so Twitter, and you want another title, another description, and a different image. Well, this is what this meta social component allows you. And you can preview actually the social media post that it will look like. So for example, here it is Twitter. And in this preview, you also have like some checks. It is long enough, like I mean the correct size, etc. And if you have like keywords inside the titles and description. So what are keywords? So basically in this SEO component, what you can do is like mention some keywords you want to rank for. For example, in this article, you want to be sure that you are using the food and place keyword. So easy keywords for this one. And if you do like, again, the preview, it will just say, okay, you're using 2 keywords in the title and just 1 in the description. So this is good. You also have the same for the browser preview. So the browser preview will not use like, they will use the meta title, description, and the meta image by default. And it will show you what it will look like. Ooh, it's not very good with dark mode. So I'm going to go back to light mode. Unfortunately, the colors are not that great with the dark mode. Ooh, my eyes. Okay, we go back to the article. We should be good. Okay, so if we go back to browser preview, so it will give you a browser preview of what it will look like, for example, here on Google. And you will also have like the same checks. And you can also see like the mobile preview of your article. Again, little word about structured data. Don't forget that if you include the structured data for articles, you can also have the specific card in a, I don't know how they are displayed right now, articles in Google in search engines with structured data, but something specific for articles. But basically, if you don't, they will look like this. Okay, and then you have like the meta robot. So this is where you want to say, okay, maybe I want to not index this content. So I want to include like the no index tags and the no follow. I don't want to follow the links, the search engines, the crawlers to follow the links in my content. You have like the structured data JSON. So it is empty for now, but you can basically like fill it with structured data for articles, meta viewport, and canonical URL. So if you go, I wanted to show you something. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it for all the fields in this SEO components. And here, what you can have on the right is basically like, so you have the previews for browser, the social, and you also have like the last link. this is not the most visible one. This is the most important one. When you will click on it, it will actualize like the preview or the summary, sorry. So here we can see that there is 6 good things on my content about SEO. I think 3 things I can improve and 1 bad thing. So we will see what it is about. So if you click on see details, there's like an analyze that is inspired by the SEO Press plugin in WordPress. They all work the same, but it is inspired by this. And you have like some drop downs of basically all the checks you have in this plugin, and you can have like some information about what it is about. So we are good on a meta title. You have like the value, the value here, and then like the length. So we are good on both title, description. Then we have a word counter. So basically what it will do, like some of the checks here will check all the rich text editor that you have in Strapi on the first level. So they will check like the rich text editor in the first level. So just outside of any components, outside of everything. The editors that are in components, the editors that are in components in a dynamic zone, and also just in a dynamic zone. But it is not like looking deeper than that. If you have like a dynamic zone with a component that is inside a component and you have an editor inside of it, unfortunately, it will not work. Maybe this is for V2, but I think that for V1, it is clearly enough. So a word counter. And basically, yeah, it will just count the words you have in your editors, and it is good to have at least a specific amount of words for your content. Then you have like the keyword density. So this is pretty cool. For example, we saw earlier that you can like mention some keywords you want to rank for, and this check will basically see, okay, in your content, you're not using enough the place keywords. You are not using it at all, and this is bad. I mean, you want to rank for it, so maybe you can use it more. So what I can do is like, I just write it here, and I mean, it's not good practices, but it will go to orange saying, okay, you are using the place keyword just once, maybe you can use it more. And then you write, you rewrite, you rethink your content to use more keywords, etc., etc. So that's
but always keep it natural. Don't keyword stuff.
Yeah, of course.
Bad.
Yeah, don't do what I do. It's not it's not the best practices, but you understand what I mean. So yeah, you have the keyword density, then meta social tags. So maybe I probably need to change the color because it appears that something you can improve, but maybe you just don't want to have something different for Facebook or Twitter. So here I'm saying that only one meta social tag is being used, Twitter, but I mean, that's fine. If you're not showing something different on Facebook, it's not something you can improve. But and it's basically the same for canonical URL, and nothing has been found. JSON structure data, nothing has been found. I mean, it's not that bad. It's okay. Then you will have like meta robots. So this one is pretty easy by default, and it depends basically on the front end. What you can do here in Strapi, as I said since the beginning of this workshop, it is only about like making sure that you all have the information ready for your front end. So here I'm saying, okay, this article, I don't want to index it, I don't want to crawl it to follow the links, etc. So I'm just mentioning this. Okay, if I go on the checks, it says by default, I mean, if you don't mention it, they are activated. It means that on the front end, you will receive this value as nothing inside, because you specified nothing. But here, it will receive a value with no index and no follow. It means that on the front end, then the logic you need to have, and this is not something we can do, unfortunately, but on the front end, you just need to say, okay, I have the no index and no follow. Then I need to create the meta robot tags with these 2 values, basically. But here in the content, we are saying, okay, these are being activated. So for example, the no index, it means that the search engines will not index this page. Then, sorry, I just quit. And then you have like basically the same for alternative text attribute for images. So something that is cool, but needs to be like, you need to be careful with that is like in Strapi, whenever you upload an image, so if we go in the media library, you will automatically have an alternative text if nothing has been specified, and it will automatically be filled with the name of the image. So if I browse my files and I want to upload this file, I can like click on the edit, and then nothing is in the alt attribute. And if I leave it like this, I just finish and upload it. And if I go back to edit, I will see that it has been filled with alternative text. So the thing is like, you will never have an alternative text empty for your images in Strapi, which is cool. But I mean, the crawlers, they will not like this. I mean, they will not like really, for this one, okay, because it is very well explained. But if the alternative text doesn't like really describe the image as the search engines wants to, this is not really nice. This is not really best practices. So basically, the checks that we saw for the alternative text attribute, we'll see if there is some missing out for your images imported by the media library, but also in your rich text editors. So for example, here it says that everything is good because every image in the Markdown editor has alternative text. But if I remove one, for example, this one, and if I go to see details, it will say, okay, there's one missing out in the following rich text field, which is content, and this is the correct one. And I could also do the same, but I don't think I have images here in the FAQ. So yeah. Basically, that was not the last one. And then after that, you have like the latest updated ad. So basically it will just say, okay, this content is pretty fresh. I mean, it's not older than a year. So I mean, that's good. But if your content is very old, something the search engines don't really like is like old content. So you will get a red dot or a code red saying that you will need to update this content. And basically, this is all the checks you can have thanks to the SEO plugin. And I'm going to check the comment section because I see that there's a lot of things.
Yeah, I think the biggest questions, where can we find documentation for the plugin?
Yeah.
And then using it for taxonomy.
Yeah, sure. So it's Strapi. So the documentation can be found. Oh, this is not the good one. Okay, I don't remember what is the correct URL for this plugin, but basically you can find everything on the GitHub page. So you have the README of the plugin, so how it works, etc., etc. So if you want to, I saw that someone, what should we have in mind to send a pull request to improve this plugin on official repository? So what you have in mind is basically, I mean, clearly whatever you want. If you think you can improve this plugin or bring some ideas, etc., feel free to do so. I mean, it is like open. You can do that if you really want to. There is not like documentations really like technical documentation. It is only about how you can add it to your Strapi project. But I mean, you are free to yeah, I'm trying to give you the best answer, but there is already some ideas I have for the V2. So for like I said, some gave me some cool feedbacks. The team also gave me some cool feedback. So maybe I can like in the issues list all of them. And if you want to work on them, feel free to. But just keep in mind that I will be like working on it during the year, not now, but in the future during the year to improve it to make it a V2. But yeah, basically, I will list all the ideas in the issues.
Next question was, can this SEO plugin be used for taxonomy? Which I believe it can. It's a content type, correct? So collections, categories.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm reading all the questions. Oh, I'm so lost. Yeah, absolutely. It can be used for whatever you want. I mean, if you go in the SEO page, it's available for collection types, for single types. Here, I'm just showing you for articles, but the most significant one is like for pages, which is here, for example. So every time you'll be creating pages, you will be able to have this SEO component, and it will really makes your like content editors to really be able to fill all the SEO informations, etc. So yeah, it's really about like giving just a component, and then your content editors will be able to basically fill all the necessary informations for your content to be SEO friendly. So yeah. Can alt text be IT name? I don't think so. I don't think so, because it is part, I don't want to say something silly. No, I think it is not. Like the one that is included in the media library plugin cannot be translated. However, what you can do, this is not like the best practices, but you can create, for example, a component inside your Strapi, which is including like an image and a string field, which is your alt. So you will not be using like the attribute, the alternative text of the image directly, but the one that you are associating in your components. So for example, if you do like create a component, just you call it image, you want to clean the blocks, whatever the logo, you just want to have like, for example, a media, okay, single media, and then another one, a text, which will be the alt, and then you do finish. And every time you want to have an image, you use this component. And here, what you can do is like make this field localized. I don't know how to say it, but you can be able to translate it. This is what we do on the website. For example, I think it has been improved, the alternative text directly in the media lib, but on the website, we do have a field just for the alt. So if we want to translate it, we can absolutely do this.
Yeah, and I would say even from an enterprise level, so for some of the Fortune 100 companies we've worked with, we've done a similar implementation. It's not the most scalable, but honestly, those clients have found that it gives them the flexibility they need, because sometimes the orientation of images actually needs to be flipped, especially if you're going from a right to left language. It doesn't make everything magically happen, but it does give you flexibility that you need in case you are going to wildly different audiences and need to customize from there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Henry, this is like, yeah, you will have like having the file name will throw an error, but the UX will be, yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, yeah, but feel free to use like this hack, I will say. It will not be automatically generated. I mean, as long as you always have like good file names describing the image, I mean, it's fine. It will automatically create like the alternative text from that, and then it will be perfect. But we know that it's not always the case. The file name are always messy sometimes. So yeah, just create an alt text next to your image, and you can translate it, etc.
And keep in mind, when it comes to images that are just purely used for decoration and do not impart any meaning, you can also add a value of null. That's actually what Google and other search engines recommend, because at the end of the day, alt text was created for accessibility. It was for people who are on text readers who maybe can't see the image or have other issues going on. So definitely think about that use case, and that will always lead you to really what I think is the ideal solution when it comes to alt text and images.
Adil is asking why there is a discrepancy between naming fields. Meta title is camel case and publish chat is snake case. So publish chat is yeah, I think so far on the website, when I coded like this application, Food Advisor, I was heavily inspired by what we did on the website. And this is like something bad, because on the website, it is using chemicals. As you can see, for example, this one is external, it is using chemicals. So for the continuity, I keep using like chemicals, but the publish chat, for example, is something we did like way in the past. It was existing since the beginning of Food Advisor, and it was using like, underscore. So it was not using chemicals. So, I mean, it's not something good. I mean, there's no that's so hard to say, but yeah, basically it's not a good behavior. There's no logic about this. So if no hold, it's better to manually add null as a string.
So you would actually want it to be an empty string, not undefined, because depending on your front end, that could throw an error.
All right. Do you have any question? I mean, if yes, that's the correct time to have any questions. Feel free to ask. If you want to see something more in the demo in Food Advisor, which is about SEO, feel free to mention it in the chat. But other than that, I think we're good. I'm not sure about the timing. I mean, it's 1 hour, almost 1 hour. yeah, feel free to if you have any questions. But yeah, like I mentioned, it's going to be very nice because this is only the first SEO plugin, but more are coming. So like I said, Fabrica, they are working on one that is the opposite, but can be like used with this one. So it is great. And I know that there's another one from a community member that is also like working on it by itself. So, I mean, you will have the choice in the future about SEO plugins, which is awesome, by the way. So yeah, no more questions. Okay. Well, thank you. I saw the message about the dark mode, so I will transfer that to the product team, the people that worked on it. But yeah, it's pretty awesome. And also, I don't know if you saw the news about the TypeScript support, the in-app marketplace. As you can see here, I can import pretty much all the plugins from the community from Strapi directly in Strapi. So this is awesome. It's not really CS. I'm using the beta version of 4.2, but yeah, it will be available soon. And yeah, I mean, if you don't have any questions, and if you don't have anything more to add, Sam, all right, so, yeah, we're gonna close this.
Yeah, we will be sending out the slides and the recording. Do we have an ETA on when they can expect that?
I'm not sure, and I'm wondering where we should send these slides, etc. I will talk with the marketing team, but yeah, we'll find a way. We'll transfer the slides. If we don't know yet, but maybe on Discord. I don't know if you're the person who asked you are on Discord. If not, I'm just writing you down. You know, discord.strapi.io. The recording will be available on YouTube. So yeah, I don't know the ETA for that, but it will be available soon. And yeah, if we don't know where to send the slides, it will be on Discord. But yeah, I think that's pretty much.
And feel free to use the Discord or DM us on Twitter if you had any questions about what we discussed today. Always happy to talk more about it. So
sure. All right. Thanks everyone. Thanks for being there. It was really great. And yeah, see you in another workshop and maybe at the next StrapiConf. Bye.